Hey, Brody.
Hey, Zach.
So, how'd you feel about the Knights game?
Game sevens are for heroes. Game sixes are for chumps. Doesn't matter that we dominated that game. I think we need to come out with the same kind of energy. Let's go game seven. Do we even need to talk about this? No. No one needs to talk about this. Game seven.
Despite the fact that I agree, we totally were in control for so much of that game, and
Oh,
but
no, it's
just
not a matter of opinion. I have stats.
goals weren't. Well, I know it wasn't in a matter of opinion, but just the goals weren't happening. By the end of the game, we lost in second overtime to the Sharks, 1-2. We were tied 1-1 for all of the game, basically. And let's just jump right into these stats and let's talk about the shots on goal. We had 59 shots on goal. The Sharks had 29 shots on goal.
Yeah, so we're talking 2-1. And this is not just shots. We're also talking about chances. Our number of chances, like sometimes when you see like a number of shots that goes up that high, you think, oh, well, maybe like they didn't have like a lot of high quality shots and they were just like shooting from the point. No, we had quite a few really super high quality chances as well. Jones posted a 983 and he earned that 983.
So this game, we had 3 power plays, counting the second overtime power play. Let's talk about why these goals just weren't coming through.
I didn't think the power play was that bad. Obviously, the penalty kill wasn't that bad either. Um, you know, sometimes you got to be a little bit greasy. You got to be down in there looking for rebounds. And it seemed like every time that we had a pretty good rebound going, something happened where it got knocked away before we had a chance to get a second. Or, a couple times, just second chances go just a little bit wide. And if those go a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, those go in, and it's a dominant performance by the Knights. And sometimes that's the game.
It's so weird to see power plays being just so few at this point. Like I figured it'd only grow in insanity. Because
Yeah,
the
and
penalty minutes were
this
only
was not a
64.
this was not a three. This was not a game that should have had five power plays total. I mean, four if like just talking regulation play. There were missed calls, which I've said it and I stand by it. We're a better 5-on-5 team. They have a better forward core, offensively speaking, but our defense is better, and our forwards are good enough to win the game 5-on-5. Like I said, there were missed calls on both sides, and so you complaining about reffing is such a everybody and every team does it. It happens to both sides. The refs are watching both teams just as badly, but you like. And the thing is that the refs will try and even out the game so that both sides get the same number of power plays. Ignore game one. The refs will try and even out power plays so that both sides get the same amount, and it's just stupid. Like, call the rule book. It's, I don't know, man. I say that like, if we had one more power play during regulation, maybe things would be different. True. Maybe if we had one more penalty kill, things would be different too. Also probably true. But I just think that the refs should be calling penalties when they see them and not just not calling them. You feel?
Yeah, I get it. With so few penalties out there, there's one thing I know the Knights are really good at, and that is legal hits. Because
Oh
this
yeah.
game, hits, we had 80 hits, and the Sharks had 39 hits. Now, I understand the game was definitely a lot longer of a game. It was 100 minutes of a game.
Yeah,
But
so 20 or 40 extra minutes. So yeah, you're going to see
still,
some.
80 hits, though.
Yeah, no, that's insane, and that's part of why I think that this team has a good chance going into Game 7. We are putting the body out there. I think there are a couple guys who are playing injured. Obvious examples, Cody Eakin. He's got something going on with his face. He's been playing with a full face mask, but you can't really replace Cody Eakin. So I have heard whispers that there's going to be some lineup change going into the next one. And by whispers, I mean I've read a few tweets basically. I don't know where those lineup changes are going to be, but I think there's a couple guys who have shown a little bit of weakness, and I don't think it's the guys who are laying, these hits. I think Carrier has shown that he can lay those hits well. I think Reeves has shown that he can lay those hits well. McNabb has been playing. He's our best defenseman, followed shortly behind there by Theodore. Like those two have been playing out of their minds. I'm shrugging because I think that everything points to that this game should have been a dominant performance by the Knights, and sometimes you just run into a hot goaltender.
Yeah, Jones, we got to give him credit for that. That man showed up.
Oh, absolutely, he showed up. I mean, he was resurrected on Easter Sunday. Something. Come on, man. You got to let me have the jokes.
Well, in the first period, things were pretty even. We had definitely not picked up our game yet, but I thought things were good until there were 9 seconds left in the period. And that's
you
when
say we
Couture
hadn't picked up our game, but the stats still show that we were controlling most of that game. So, for example, in the first period, Corsi, which is an advanced stat that kind of shows possession, it's basically the number of shots that your team makes versus the number of shots that the opposing team makes, 63%. So that's basically saying that we had the puck in their zone 63% of the time. So throughout this entire game, our weakest period was the first overtime period. Even in the first period, we still had dominant possession numbers, and then you hate to see one go in with 9 seconds left. It's tough to stop that one. I don't think that there's a goal allowed in this game that was like anyone's fault, and we'll get to the shorthanded goal at the end. I've seen a lot of people really complaining about that one, but we'll talk about it when we get to it.
Well, you see, I don't have all your fancy stats. I have shots on goal to look at. In the first period, it was 9 shots on goal to 10. And when comparing it to the second period as a whole, 7 shots on goal to 17, I feel our play got much stronger in the second.
Right. So the shots on goal was 9 to 10, is that correct?
Yes.
The shots overall, so things that miss the net that don't get counted as shots on goal or get blocked before they make it to the goal, was 23 to 13.
Yeah, I don't got those stats.
So overall, like I said, we were playing better, and the Sharks were either blocking shots or we were missing the net. I think there was a really great chance by Stone early on in this period where it just goes wide of the net, and that doesn't get counted.
Well,
it just doesn't show up.
Halfway through the period, our boy Marchessault does bring in our goal to bring us to the tie that will last for an hour.
Yeah, no, what a great backhander. Like I said, just off the rebound, going in, battling for that position and getting the rebound, and then roofing it up over Jones's pad. It doesn't matter how hot your goaltender is if you do something like that. There's no goaltender in the league that's going to stop that shot, and Marchessault ties it up for us. I think that the Marchessault, Carlson, Smith line is a line that is going to wake up. I think a lot of people have been putting kind of down on them because they're not the Stastny, Pacioretty, Stone line, but they are still our top line. And I think that if they can wake up and have a big game 7, that line could be the shine that we need.
It feels so weird to go into a game like this where every period you're talking about how well we were playing, and then to know that in the end we lost. Because in the third period, we did even better than the second, at least stat-wise. They only had 4 shots on goal. We managed to rob them of enough possession, and we had another 17 shots on goal. It's so weird to have to talk about how well we've done when it's a game we lost.
Yeah, and so talking about just shots overall, because I'm going to be talking about Corsi all video apparently, just because the Corsi numbers in this game are actually insane. So our shots in the third period, counting ones that missed the net or were blocked, were 24 to their 11. So even better. We're talking about 70% almost possession numbers. So, yeah, maybe fewer shots, more passing. You hate to do something like that. It's tough to find anything wrong with the game. Sometimes you just hot goaltender, just the way that it is.
Now, you mentioned it earlier. The first overtime was definitely our worst period in terms of play. What went wrong?
I think the Sharks really wanted it, and they saw the desperation because one misstep one way or the other. I think if the second overtime had gone a little bit longer, maybe we would have seen a little bit of a renaissance for the Sharks in the second half of that period. I don't know. But again, and in overtime, one step too slow, and you give the team a better chance, and the game just ends right there. There's not anything else. It just ends, right? And so it's exciting to watch. But I still think our guys had quite a few good chances. We still won the Corsi battle. It was 22-21. So, but basically an even period. It could break either way. And I think that showed that our defense is there and is just as good, if not better than theirs. Our guys are out there, making the saves.
I think we went into the second pretty strongly, though.
Absolutely.
The Sharks only had one shot on goal in the second, and that was sadly the shot on goal. The shorthanded goal, Tomas Hertl and Vlasic. What went wrong in that?
Well, people have been saying, Fleury has to have that, it's a shot kind of from out high. And honestly, if Theodore hadn't been there, Fleury would have had it. A lot of people have been saying, like it is kind of an a quote unquote easy save as much as a breakaway is an easy save. But from looking at it and from reading on Twitter, there was a goaltender who basically who explained it this way. He said, basically what happens is Hertl goes for the shot and he hits Theodore's stick, which makes the shot go a little wonky. It looked like Fleury read it and that he was in the right place to make the correct save, but because Theodore's stick was there and the shot goes wild, Fleury isn't in the right place to make the save. That's not even anything against Theodore. He made the right play. A lot of times that just misses. There wasn't a lot to shoot at on the other side of Fleury, where the puck went in. So the fact that it did go in is just, bad puck luck, basically.
Well, that bad puck luck did bring an end to the game, and it's taken us over to Game 7, and I'm getting a little nervous, but I think we got it. I mean, based on how we played this game, it's just the pressure, the constant pressure. I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I still maintain our worst game of the series was the first game, and this was maybe our best game of the series despite losing. I think that, again, the stats bear out and show that our shooting was better, our chances were better, everything about the way that we played was better. I think Jones has a lot of confidence going in, and I think that if our first line can start rolling, Jonathan Marchessault has 3 goals in the last has a goal in each of the last 3 games. I think Jonathan Marchessault is just heating up. I think Riley Smith has shown he's been robbed twice of 2 really high quality chances. I think the Smith Carlson Marchessault line is destined for an awakening, and I think that if you see one of those guys score early, I think you're gonna see that game goes a little differently than this one. But again, we're on the road. It's gonna be a tough game for the Knights, but I think the Knights have shown over and over again that they can win in that building, and that they can bring this one home.
Okay, well, let's really quick cover all of the games from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to kind of lightning round this. So the first game, you had the Maple Leafs against the Bruins. The Maple Leafs won, putting up their series 3-2. Tell me about it.
So there were 3 goals scored in this game. 2 of them probably shouldn't have counted. So the first goal, scored by the Maple Leafs, challenged for goaltender interference. Basically what happens is there's a Leafs player just on the edge of the blue paint, and he sort of cross-checks off of the Bruins player in front of him and starts like falling backwards a little bit into Tuukka Rask, the Bruins goaltender, and little distraction, but there's like a little bit of time between when that happens and when the shot happens, and I think based on other goals that have been called back for goaltender interference, maybe that one could have been called back, but it wasn't. It probably was goaltender interference, at least in my mind. And then after that, the next Leafs goal, totally fine. Perfectly legitimate goal. Everything about it was fine. And then with their goaltender pulled, the Bruins score a goal in the final minute of play, about 17 yards offside. I think very clearly offsides. It was reviewed for being offside, and nothing. So I think if the Bruins had managed to tie this up, I think the refs would have had a little bit of egg on their face because it was pretty clearly offside.
Well, what about the Avalanche and the Flames? The Avalanche won their series on Friday. They brought an end to it all with a 5-1 win against the Flames and a 4-1 series win.
Super exciting team, the Avs. They're my second team, so I root for them, and I think I'm obviously not going to root for them in the next round because the Knights are going to win it out. But super exciting team. Nathan MacKinnon is so hot right now. now. He might be the best player in the playoffs. I think the Avs, if they don't run into the Knights, will have a really good chance to make a deep run. I think Avs Blues in the Western Conference Final would definitely be something to watch. But I mean, this is actually sort of interesting stat here. This is the first time in NHL history the number one seed in the East and the number one seed in the West have been knocked out in the first round. Calgary, number 2 in the NHL, I believe. I haven't checked. I'm pretty sure they were number 2. And the Lightning, number 1, both knocked out in the first round with 1 win between both teams. So I think the Avs have something special going on, and they also have the number 4 overall pick in the upcoming draft. So... Oof.
Now, this next game we're going to talk about is the Stars and the Predators. The Stars winning today, 5-3, bringing their series up 3-2. The Stars are in the lead on that.
Nobody cares.
And it's still going. It seems like a fairly intense series.
Yep. Yeah. No. Stars winning this one out 5-3. Kind of exciting, I suppose. But again, I just don't care about these two teams. So Stars are up 3-2, and they have a chance to win it on home ice in Game 6.
Now the Jets and the Blues. Now we saw the Blues today bring an end to it with a 2-3 win, winning their series 4-2.
Talk about an upset. Like I said, the Jets were favored to go make a deep run this time. Win a cup even. The Blues go up early in this one, 3-2, and the Jets battle back to get 2 goals, and then the Blues just managed to hold on. The Jets must be thinking back to last game where they end up losing it with 15 seconds left. They have a lead going into the third period. I think this Jets team has a lot of flaws that they might want to try and correct going into the offseason. But at the same time, they're still a good team. So, but hey, good on the Blues.
Now, the past couple games, the Hurricanes have been bullying the Capitals. They brought it up 2-2 and they tied it, but today the Capitals came back with force and 6-0'd the Hurricanes, putting them up in their series 3-2.
Talk about a back and forth series. I mean, so this is the series where home ice actually seems to matter because the teams have won every time that they're on home ice. So that doesn't bode well for the Hurricanes, but I think that these two teams have been playing a really entertaining series. I think the Canes are a really entertaining team to watch, so I'd like to see them come back and win their game and see this series go to 7 as well.
Well, you mentioned a back-to-forth series. You got to bring up the Bruins and the Maple Leafs on Sunday.
Once again.
On Sunday, the Bruins won 4-2 to tie it again. The series is tied 3-3, just like our series, and going to a Game 7.
This is the Maple Leafs giant. If the Leafs want to make it to the next round, they have to get through the Bruins. And so far, this is the second year in a row where they've gone to a 7-game series. They're going back to Boston to TD Garden to play out this Game 7. Last year, they had a lead going into the third period, a multi-goal lead, not just like one goal going into the third period, more than one goal, and the Bruins managed to battle back and win that Game 7. I think the Leafs might be having, at least Leaf fans might be having a little bit of post-traumatic stress on this one, or maybe like flashbacks to this one. I think this is a really different Maple Leafs team, and I think that they can pull it out. Then again, I'm also not rooting for the Maple Leafs. I also don't give a shit about Boston either, so... Hey, just beat each other up.
Well, on April 23rd at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we will be seeing the Vegas Golden Knights going to San Jose. And I have high hopes. You have high hopes. I'm excited to see how this series plays out.
If I could give a little bit of a speech here.
Go ahead.
I think that maybe I gave a little bit of false hope going into this series. The Sharks are a good team. So are the Knights. Either of these teams win, I think fans on both sides are going to be disappointed. I think at the same time that winning a Stanley Cup is more about resilience than being dominant. I think that's been shown, especially with the Lightning Jacket series. The Jackets were playing meaningful games up until the last week of the series, and then they come into the playoffs and they maintained that momentum. And so part of going deep in the playoffs is building momentum early and then carrying that through series to series. You look at the Washington Capitals last year. They went 7 games, 2 series in a row. They went down early against the Blue Jackets. They lost their first 2 games and then win the next 4. And then they go down early against the Penguins and then battle back and win that series. And then they go down early against the Lightning and then post 2 shutouts to win. I think that they showed that they were resilient and that they built that resilience. It doesn't matter how many games they played. It matters that they showed that they had heart. And I think that the Knights are not done yet.
How touching. How touching of a sentiment.
That was a little bit, yeah.
Wow. Oh, well, we will see you guys on Tuesday.